First contact and invasion. They came without warning. The first sign was a disruption in global communications, satellites momentarily glitching, radio transmissions carrying strange harmonics, cell phones dropping calls simultaneously across continents. The world's leading scientists initially blamed solar flares, until astronomer Dr. Elena Reyes at the Arecibo Observatory captured something impossible. A signal pattern too regular, too precise to be natural. "It's artificial," she whispered to her colleague as they stared at the readout. "And it's moving fast." Within hours, observatories worldwide confirmed her findings. Something was approaching Earth at speeds defying human physics. The signal wasn't attempting to communicate. It was scanning us, cataloging our defenses, mapping our infrastructure. Governments mobilized in secret, but panic was inevitable once the Zetharian Empire dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of our solar system. Their arrival darkened the skies as massive ships, each larger than Earth's tallest skyscrapers, positioned themselves in geostationary orbit above major cities. Admiral Zethvakar, Supreme Commander of the Zetharian Expansion Fleet, delivered his message to every screen and speaker on the planet simultaneously. "Your world has been selected for imperial integration. Resistance is futile and illogical. Surrender your autonomy, and your people will serve a greater purpose in the Zetharian hierarchy." The United Nations Security Council convened an emergency session, broadcast globally as humanity's leaders debated their options. Chinese General Lin Wei spoke first. "We cannot surrender without a fight. We owe it to our ancestors and our children." American President Eliza Chambers agreed. "Humanity has never bowed to tyrants. We won't start now." As the diplomats argued, the Zetharians demonstrated their power. Beijing disappeared first, not destroyed, but rather enclosed in an impenetrable energy field that cut all communications. London followed, then New York, Moscow, and Tokyo. Major military installations worldwide reported massive energy surges before going silent. Against the advice of military commanders, a coalition of nuclear powers launched a coordinated strike against the Zetharian fleet. Hundreds of nuclear missiles streaked skyward, humanity's ultimate weapon and last hope. The aliens didn't even bother intercepting them. The warheads detonated harmlessly against invisible shields, their explosions tiny pinpricks of light against the enormity of the Zetharian vessels. Radiation was somehow contained, then seemingly absorbed. "Your weapons are primitive," Admiral Zethvakar announced afterward. "Your resistance is noted and will be addressed accordingly." The next wave of attacks came from orbit. Precise energy beams targeted military installations worldwide. Aircraft carriers, nuclear submarines, Air Force bases, humanity's most advanced weapons were neutralized within hours. No civilian targets were hit, but the message was clear. The Zetharians could destroy us at will. Underground at No-Raid headquarters in Colorado, surviving military leaders assessed the grim situation. General Amanda Chen reviewed the data with growing despair. "Their technology is centuries beyond ours. Conventional warfare is impossible." "Then we don't fight conventionally," said Dr. Marcus Fleming, a theoretical physicist who had been analyzing the Zetharian technology. "They're vulnerable in ways they don't realize." Fleming had discovered something curious in the data. The Zetharians relied heavily on quantum-based systems for their shields, communications, and weapons. But these systems showed minute fluctuations when exposed to certain electromagnetic frequencies that matched human brainwave patterns during states of high emotion. "They've evolved past emotional responses," Fleming explained. "Their technology reflects that. Perfect, logical, efficient. But it makes their systems susceptible to the chaotic nature of human emotion." It wasn't much, but it was something. A weakness. Meanwhile, resistance formed worldwide. When Zetharian ground forces began establishing processing centers in captured cities, they encountered unexpected difficulties. Humans refused to follow orders. They sabotaged equipment. They created distractions and diversions that defied logical prediction. Commander Ethnera, leading the Tokyo occupation, reported to Admiral HFY. These humans are unpredictable. Our behavioral models fail to account for their actions. They sacrifice themselves for strangers. They resist when compliance would benefit them. They laugh in the face of superior force. HFY dismissed these concerns. All species resist initially. They will break. But they didn't break. In Sydney, resistance fighter Maya Hassan discovered that Zetharian patrol drones malfunctioned when exposed to music, particularly emotional pieces with dramatic dynamic ranges. In Chicago, engineering student Jamal Williams found that their communication systems could be temporarily disrupted by flooding local networks with personal messages, love letters, angry rants, passionate pleas. Dr. Fleming's theory was proving correct. Human emotion, the very thing the Zetharians had evolved beyond, was their blind spot. As scattered resistance groups shared their findings through improvised communication networks, a pattern emerged. The Zetharians could predict logical resistance, but human creativity and emotional response created blind spots in their otherwise perfect strategic calculations. General Chen authorized Operation Chaos, a coordinated effort to exploit this weakness. It wasn't a traditional military operation, but rather a campaign of emotional disruption. Artists, musicians, writers, and performers were recruited alongside hackers, engineers, and soldiers. The resistance planted emotionally evocative art in Zetharian strongholds. They broadcast music that jumped chaotically between tempos and tones. They flooded Zetharian communication channels with poetry, manifestos, love letters, and impassioned speeches, the full spectrum of human emotional expression. Small victories accumulated. A Zetharian processing center in Madrid shut down when its systems failed during a spontaneous flamenco performance by detained citizens. A patrol ship crashed in Rio de Janeiro when its navigation systems encountered a festival of music and dance that had erupted despite the occupation. For the first time, Admiral HFY felt something his species had engineered out of their genetic makeup generations ago: doubt. These humans are different, he admitted to his war council. Their primitive emotional responses should make them weak, yet somehow they draw strength from this chaos. As the first month of occupation drew to a close, humanity was far from winning the war, but they had survived longer than any species previously conquered by the Zetharian Empire. And now, they had a plan. Dr. Fleming and his international team of scientists had developed a device they called the emotional amplifier, technology that could focus and project human emotional states as coherent energy. If his theories were correct, it could disrupt Zetharian systems on a massive scale. But deploying it would require something unprecedented: a coordinated global emotional response. Billions of humans would need to feel the same powerful emotions simultaneously, an effort that would require overcoming language barriers, cultural differences, and the fear and despair of occupation. As governments in exile and resistance leaders debated the feasibility of Fleming's plan, the Zetharians prepared for their final phase of conquest: neural integration. Soon, they would begin connecting human minds directly to their network, erasing individual identity and emotional response permanently. Time was running out. The counterattack. Dawn broke over a changed world. 1/3 of Earth's population now lived under direct Zetharian control, with neural processing centers operational in 27 major cities. The resistance had 48 hours before irreversible neural integration would begin. Dr. Fleming's emotional amplifier was ready, housed in an abandoned mining facility deep beneath the Norwegian mountains. The device itself wasn't impressive: a collection of quantum receivers connected to a modified particle accelerator. But its potential was humanity's last hope. The theory is sound, Fleming explained to the assembled resistance leaders. But we need a trigger, an emotional catalyst powerful enough to reach everyone simultaneously. Resistance psychologist Dr. Aisha Okafor suggested, we need something universal, something that transcends culture and language. Perhaps music. Too subjective, Fleming replied. Different cultures respond to different musical elements. The answer came from an unexpected source. 16-year-old resistance courier Zhou Chen, General Chen's daughter. What about the sunrise? Everyone understands dawn as a symbol of hope and new beginnings. It was elegant in its simplicity. The plan took shape. As dawn moved across the globe's time zones, resistance cells would coordinate local events designed to evoke powerful emotions linked to renewal and hope. The emotional amplifier would capture these responses, synchronize them, and convert them into a targeted electromagnetic pulse. Meanwhile, embedded resistance agents began spreading the word through occupied territories, using ancient methods: whispers, hand signals, coded messages hidden in graffiti. Despite Zetharian monitoring, the message spread: watch for the dawn, feel hope, remember what makes us human. Admiral Zethvakar sensed something brewing. Zetharian predictive models showed anomalous patterns in human behavior, a quietness, an anticipation that defied explanation. He ordered increased security around key installations and accelerated the neural integration schedule. These humans plan something, he told his commanders. Their resistance will be their undoing. As the operation day arrived, resistance leaders held their breath. Everything depended on timing and participation. Would enough people understand? Would the emotional response be strong enough? The dawn sequence began in the Pacific Islands. As the sun broke over Fiji, locals gathered on beaches and rooftops. Witnesses reported strange phenomena: spontaneous singing, shared memories of pre-invasion life, a palpable sense of unity. Hours later in Sydney, as sunlight touched the Opera House's damaged sails, thousands of citizens simultaneously turned their faces to the light. Zetharian patrols reported unusual readings from their sensors. Several drones malfunctioned and crashed into the harbor. The wave continued westward: Tokyo, Beijing, Delhi. In each city, as dawn broke, humans paused whatever they were doing and simply experienced hope. Not a coordinated action or protest, but a shared emotional state that grew stronger as it moved around the planet. Inside the Norwegian facility, Dr. Fleming watched his instruments with growing excitement. It's working. The emotional resonance is stronger than we predicted. The emotional amplifier hummed, its components glowing as it absorbed and synchronized the wave of human hope traveling around the globe. Fleming's team fine-tuned the frequencies, targeting them specifically to disrupt Zetharian quantum systems. In orbit, Admiral Zethvakar received alarming reports. Shield generators were fluctuating. Communication networks experienced increasing lag. Navigation systems showed unexplained errors. "What is happening?" he demanded. His science officer struggled to explain. Their primitive emotions are somehow generating quantum interference patterns that our systems can't filter. It's impossible. The dawn reached Europe, then Africa, then crossed the Atlantic to the Americas. With each new time zone, the effect grew stronger. Zetharian systems began failing catastrophically. Shield generators overloaded. Communication networks collapsed. Weapon systems went offline. In the Norwegian facility, the emotional amplifier reached critical resonance just as dawn broke over North America. Dr. Fleming gave the command: "Transmit now." The pulse shot skyward, invisible, silent, but carrying the concentrated emotional energy of billions of humans experiencing hope simultaneously. It struck the Zetharian fleet like a tsunami, overloading their quantum systems with patterns they had no evolutionary or technological framework to process. Ships lost power. Some drifted from orbit. Others maintained emergency systems only. The massive flagship, Admiral Zethvakar's command center, tumbled helplessly above the Atlantic. On the ground, Zetharian forces found themselves cut off from the collective network that governed their actions. Many simply froze, unable to function without central coordination. Others experienced something long engineered out of their species: individual thought. Inside his crippled flagship, Admiral Zethvakar faced an unprecedented situation: defeat. Centuries of Zetharian expansion had never encountered a species capable of effective resistance. Their understanding of the universe didn't account for this outcome. As emergency power returned to his command center, Zeth-Vakar made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. He opened a direct communication channel to Earth's surviving leaders, humans of Earth. He began, his voice lacking its former certainty. You have demonstrated capabilities beyond our understanding. We offer cessation of hostilities. It wasn't quite surrender, but for the Zetharian Empire, it was unprecedented. The next 48 hours brought tense negotiations. The Zetharians, for the first time in their 1,000-year expansion, offered terms instead of demanding submission. They would withdraw from Earth, leaving behind certain non-military technologies as reparations. In exchange, they sought to understand humanity's unique emotional quantum connection, not to weaponize it, but to study it. Your species represents an evolutionary path we abandoned millennia ago, Zeth-Vakar explained during negotiations. We chose logic, efficiency, collective thought. We eliminated emotion as a weakness. Now we see, perhaps something was lost in that choice. General Chen remained skeptical. Why should we trust you? Because you've demonstrated that conquering Earth would cost more than we're willing to pay, Zeth-Vakar replied with newfound humility. And because you've shown us something we thought impossible, a strength we do not possess. 1 month after the Dawn event, the last Zetharian ships departed Earth orbit. They left behind advanced medical technology, clean energy systems, and faster-than-light communication relays. They also left representatives, scientists, and diplomats interested in cultural exchange. Earth began rebuilding. The nations of the world, having faced extinction together, found new paths to cooperation. The United Earth Council formed to oversee humanity's recovery and future interactions with extraterrestrial civilizations. Dr. Fleming's emotional amplifier technology was developed further, becoming the foundation for Earth's new planetary defense system. But its greater impact was cultural, a reminder that humanity's emotional nature, long considered a primitive evolutionary holdover, was actually our greatest strength. 5 years later, Earth sent its first ambassadors to the Galactic Assembly, a coalition of spacefaring civilizations that had long excluded emotionally volatile species from membership. Admiral Zeth-Vakar, now serving as the Zetharian diplomatic envoy, personally sponsored Earth's application. When questioned by other members about the wisdom of admitting humans, Zeth-Vakar's response became famous throughout the galaxy. We called their emotions a weakness. We were wrong. Their capacity to feel, to hope, to love, to create, to persevere against impossible odds, makes them uniquely valuable to our collective future. They remind us of what many of our civilizations have forgotten. Humanity had not only survived first contact with a superior civilization, they had changed the course of galactic evolution, not through superior technology or military might, but through the very qualities that made them human. The integration of emotional intelligence with advanced technology became known as the human path, a third option between cold logic and primitive instinct. Species across the galaxy began researching this approach, leading to a renaissance of art, music, and innovation. And it all began with hope at dawn, the moment humanity reminded the stars what it means to be truly alive.